No one noticed the cleaner until the day's silence saved 100 lives. He moved like a shadow through the marble corridors, pushing his cart with soft, steady hands. People passed him without a glance executives, security guards, guests laughing, hurrying toward the annual Innovation Summit. To them, he was invisible, but Matteo saw everything. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Matteo had learned long ago that when you're ignored, you observe more. Years of quiet work had sharpened his senses. He noticed how footsteps changed when someone was nervous. He recognized the difference between hurried and hunted. He understood silence better than most people understood noise. That morning, the air felt wrong. The lobby buzzed with energy, yet beneath the chatter was something tight like a string pulled too hard. Matteo was polishing brass near the service elevators when he saw a man he didn't recognize. Dark jacket, no conference badge. He moved carefully, glancing toward security, then slipped into a restricted hallway. Matteo's hand paused. Mid-polish? It could be nothing, he told himself. People got lost all the time. But then he noticed the man's backpack too stiff, too heavy, and his fingers trembled adjusting the strap. Matteo's stomach tightened. He had once been a maintenance worker at a train station years ago, when no one paid attention to a similar bag. The memory still woke him at night, the sirens, the smoke, the helplessness. He had promised himself he would never ignore that feeling again. Still doubt crept in. What if he was wrong? What if he embarrassed himself? Who would believe a cleaner over a registered guest? He followed anyway, not openly, not dramatically, just a quiet redirection of his cart, wheels squeaking softly. He kept a safe distance, pretending to wipe fingerprints from walls while watching the stranger slip into the emergency stairwell. That stairwell led to the summit floor. Hundreds of people were up there, entrepreneurs, journalists, students. Matteo imagined the bright hall, the applause, the excitement. His chest grew heavy. He reached the stairwell door seconds later and listened. Footsteps climbing quickly, a metallic clink. His heart pounded in his ears. Calling security would take time. Running upstairs might cause panic. If he was wrong, he'd lose his job. If he was right, he opened the door quietly and climbed. Halfway up, he saw it. The stranger had set the backpack down on the landing above and was fiddling with something inside, wires. A small blinking light. The man's breath came in sharp bursts. Matteo froze. Fear gripped him so tightly he thought he might collapse. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't trained. He was just a cleaner with worn shoes and a fading uniform. But sometimes courage doesn't announce itself with noise. Sometimes it moves in silence. Matteo looked at the fire alarm lever on the wall beside him. If he pulled it, chaos would erupt, the summit would evacuate, the stranger might panic, things could go wrong. Yet if he did nothing, his hands trembled. He thought of the train station, the smoke, the faces he never forgot. He pulled the lever, the alarm screamed through the building. Upstairs, confusion erupted, doors flung open, security radios crackled, people rushed toward exits in waves of startled motion. The stranger jolted, eyes wide, and tried to grab the backpack, but now security was already storming down the stairs. Matteo didn't move, he simply stood there, heart racing, as officers tackled the man before he could flee. The backpack tumbled from his grip. Later, authorities would confirm what Matteo had sensed in seconds. The device was real, improvised, lethal. The building emptied into the streets below, hundreds of shaken faces staring up at the tower. That tower might have become a headline for all the wrong reasons, and Matteo? He quietly returned his card to the supply closet. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't demand recognition. When security footage revealed what had happened, when reporters came asking questions, Matteo struggled to find words. I just heard something that didn't sound right, he said softly, but inside he knew it wasn't just a sound, it was a choice. For years, people had overlooked him, talked over him, walked past him. That invisibility had once felt like a burden. Now he understood it had been a gift. He had seen what others missed because he had nothing to prove and everything to protect. In the days that followed, the summit organizers honored him publicly. The crowd that once hurried past him now stood and applauded. Some cried, some shook his hand like he was made of something rare. Matteo felt uncomfortable under the spotlight because the truth was simple. He hadn't acted to be seen, he had acted because he couldn't live with himself if he hadn't. And maybe that's what bravery really is, not loud, not dramatic, but a quiet refusal to ignore the small warning inside your chest. The invisible cleaner was invisible no more, but what mattered most wasn't the recognition, it was the reminder. That awareness is power, and courage often begins with one silent gesture. Never underestimate the quiet person in the corner, because sometimes the softest footsteps carry the strongest hearts. If this story moved you, share where you're watching from and let me know, would you have pulled the alarm? And if you believe ordinary people can change the course of history, subscribe to Cinematic Whispers for more stories, stories that remind us how powerful we truly are.